What is up, guys? Welcome back to the James Eversole Jr. Movie Podcast. Alright, today's segment on this podcast, I'm doing something new. I've been trying to do this for a while now, all the way back to Indie PopCon. I've been trying to get this bad boy wrapped up, and we're finally doing it. It's basically a one-on-one interview, which really isn't one-on-one because we got like 4 people here, but I am doing a one-on-one interview with the most badass artist in the game today, is Matthew Skillern.
Say hi.
You even said my name right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, see? I was sitting there, I was wondering that, because every time I do a podcast, I'm like, I hope I'm saying Matt's name right. And then also, we got the badass.
I'm proud of you.
And the badass, Jason Keith Phillips.
Yeah, mayonnaise and bread for you.
Alright, guys, so first off, I give my thank yous at the end of the podcast, but I want to thank you guys so much for sitting down and doing this interview today. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. And then, of course, we have... She's been on here before. She's my partner in crime. We have Chloe Parks. What's up?
Hi, thanks for having me again.
So we're both gonna like hit them with some questions. It's basically gonna be, a laid back podcast / a laid back interview. So to get this bad boy kicked off, I think Chloe, you had this kind of same question. This is for both of you guys. So basically the origin. Take us back to the origin. What was your passion that made you go into art and realize, this is something that you're gonna do in life? And you pursued it so much. And anybody can kick it off. Go ahead. You want to go for it, Matt?
Sure.
So will you start with what age you started?
What? No, go ahead.
What age did you start? When you did art?
I honestly don't really remember a time. Jason and I have talked about this before too. I think I don't remember a time where I didn't draw. In some way, I mean, obviously, I haven't always had the ability to do the things that I wanted to do. That takes a lot of practice and time and development and stuff. But I mean, I definitely say I remember drawing a lot, especially second grade, and a lot of that was because my dad gave me this book called, I think it's either Son of Origin or Sons of Origin. But it was one of the first trade paperbacks through Marvel back in the day, and it had a bunch of origin stories from kind of almost like B-list characters. So at the time, Iron Man was, I wouldn't say Iron Man was who he is now. Mm-hmm. They had Daredevil in there, and it had there was some Fantastic Four stories and the Watcher and stuff like that. And I got really interested in those and read that book cover to cover. And I just remember during that time period, always drawing superheroes and I've always been interested in different superheroes and stuff like that. My dad's always been into that, so I know a lot of it was kind of the beginning for me. I just have always loved comic books and superhero stuff, movies. But yeah, drawing's always been sort of then for me. So, anyways, that's kind of how it started for me, I guess.
That's awesome. And
to cut off the already really long story.
Oh no, it's fine. I enjoyed it. That's awesome. And Jason, what was your origin that started you pursue their passion in art?
I don't know why. Since I got the motor skills kicked in and put pen to paper, and I just never stopped. But I just didn't take it as serious until later in life.
That's awesome.
So, but I've always drawn.
When did you start doing it professionally?
You get kind of told growing up that it's just a hobby.
Yeah.
And it's not going to amount to anything. So that was not a good thing to hear.
Yep.
But yeah. But yeah, it is possible to do art for a living.
Well, it's good because
no matter what they sell you.
Yeah, it's good because you can look back now and say
otherwise.
You can look back now and say, "Fuck those people," because you're a badass at it.
No, this is Pete.
I'm just kidding.
No, you can say one. I won't say the other one, but he can say 1F per show because it's PG-13.
Yeah, we're allotted 1 F-bomb per episode.
Awesome. And then Chloe, what do you have for him? What's your question?
Who are some of your main inspirations when you were evolving your art? Who do you kind of look to and think you have to pay homage to them?
Do you want to go first, Jason, on this one, or
whoever, bros? Me, I know I always like Japanese anime a lot more. Like I saw Unico, Akira, Nausicaa, things like that. So I definitely thought that was way cooler than American animation and things like that. So I probably was influenced way heavily by Otomo more than anybody else that I can say. Otherwise, I'd have to owe a lot to him. It's kind of cliche, but it's just too good. Like Akira, I don't know about, was it Steam Boy? Don't talk about that one, but Akira is just forever go-to Inspiratu.
That's awesome. And Matt?
For me, like one of the first I can remember is like, again, Sons of Origin. Jack Kirby was in there. Steve Buscema was in there. I'm sorry, John Buscema, not the actor, but John Buscema was in there. But the artist who like really inspired me when I was like in the 90s. So like I was kind of like becoming like a teenager and stuff, like heading into the 90s. So not to date myself, but
old man.
So I got really into like Todd McFarlane and Jim Lee and even Rob Liefeld. I think Rob Liefeld's actually great. I know he gets a lot of hate, but he's pretty awesome actually.
On drawing those feet
and then
pouches.
What's that?
Drawing those feet and pouches.
That body proportion.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and again, like I'm a huge fan of Jack Kirby. Like he's my like I love Jack Kirby. I'm a huge fan of Steve Ditko too, but Jack Kirby especially, like he's like known for kind of weird, strange, wonky bodies and stuff. Because he was kind of abstracting the human form. He wasn't necessarily trying to draw exactly how humans look. He was stylizing. I kind of think Liefeld does that, just on an even more extreme level. Like his stuff is just like, yeah, it's like the way he draws things is just like it's impossible. Like huge, like gigantic arms, like gigantic. Like in the 90s, he drew these like huge legs all the time. You know, like tree trunks and stuff. But yeah, those are some of the artists that I like really love. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, like artists today. To be honest, I say this a lot, but I mean, I love Jason's work.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not just saying that because he's here. Like I tell him that all the time. Like I'm a big fan of Jason's work, so I own a lot of his stuff.
Meh. that guy's a meh.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like
why would JKP? He's a meh.
Yeah, meh. No, Jason knows that, you know, I brag about you guys all the time, and I tell Jason all the time it's incredible, like the work you guys do, and it's really cool what like Jason does too. It's like not a lot of people do like the actual like paint for canvases and stuff like that anymore.
Yeah.
And how he does it in his color combinations and stuff, it's incredible. And you know, from two people have got artwork from him, it's incredible, and you're definitely not meh. But
I don't think so either.
Yeah, he was good to be like, oh, I like that mayo. And people are like, why?
But
I like that mustard instead.
You I went down this.
We have both.
Yeah, I knew I would go down this rabbit hole, but I know you mentioned Todd McFarlane. Before we go into the next question, what do you think about Todd McFarlane actually getting his director debut with Spawn? What did you guys think of that? Did you think that was? Give me your thoughts on that.
To be honest, like Todd McFarlane, I feel like he's one of those guys who, I feel like once he decides he's going to do something, he's going to do everything he can to make it like his vision, like his grit. I mean, I feel like with his comic books in the 90s, and even now, like if you look at how he draws, his art style's changed, but he just kind of he's pushed it further. Really, is what he's done, and he uses digital now and stuff. But I mean, like with what he did with toys, like he took kind of the stuff, like the way that he drew, and he made everything like kind of look like that, you know, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a visual guy, and I think that he'll probably get in there and I hope do well. I hope we don't end up in a situation like with Frank Miller, like where like obviously he co-directed Sin City with Robert Rodriguez, and that is like one of the best comic book movies ever. That first Sin City.
Totally agree.
But then he went in and did The Spirit on his own.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just like unwatchable.
Yeah.
So I hope Spawn doesn't turn out like that. I think what he's doing, he's trying to make like a straight horror movie, which will be kind of cool. I think that's a smart move for the big screen. So I hope he does well. Yeah. I'm a big fan, so I hope he does well.
And Jason,
was he even hands-on on the first one?
No. As far as like, I'm sure it's for like costume design and things like that, but that's as far as it went with it.
He was just a hobo.
That'd be a cool.
He did play the hobo.
Yeah, he was.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's all he did. Yeah, he was so guys.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That's awesome. All right, so do you have a question? Or you want me to find?
Yeah. What So this is kind of your chance to do your plugs right now. What are you currently working on? What's kind of your big thing right now that you want to push?
Go ahead, Skills.
I feel like I'm talking too much, so go ahead.
What are your projects at the moment?
Most people that know me, the bane of my existence is my dreadlock needs to be done, but I involuntarily became full-time artist, which is a blessing and a curse all at the same time. So I'm working on that all the while keeping the lights on with commissions and things, which like Eversole himself. I have a nice piece I'm working on with you, which is a big piece, so it's fermenting, and I actually would be working on it now while we do this, which I was planning on doing, but I do have some
hey, multitasking
spur of the moment ITCE stuff that's going to be announced soon that I have to work on too right now, so I was messing with that. We can't see it yet, so sorry.
I know, and I'm excited about that piece. I can't tell Chloe yet because it's a surprise.
No, I mean I can show that. I haven't sat and posted much about his. I just was getting his approval as I got each piece figured out, because you gotta lay it all out, and sometimes when you blow something up, you don't want to be like, I don't know. It's a challenge, and I take it on, but I prefer it for some sketch cards. I'd rather do it with canvases than sketch cards. It sounds kind of weird. Been to too many sketch cards in my lifetime already.
You do have a lot of sketch cards. They're awesome, though.
You gotta be like in the thousands by now, man.
Oh yeah, there's more than that, but it's just the bigger canvas is much better. But yeah, his pieces, it's a lot to tackle on to get everything so that he's not gonna be like, I want my money back when I give it to him. It's special. No Dora the Explorer or none of that on there. Don't worry.
I'm just getting more excited for it to see. I'm so excited. But Matt, what's yours?
Projects. That's right. Sorry, I had a long day. I mean, I'm always kind of working on the comic, which is my creator-owned thing that I do, but the thing that I'd like to do next is the freaking future, which there's a preview at the end of the comic graphic or the comic trade, anyways, it's like a collection of stories that take place in the future. So like there's a woman who's the last woman on Earth who's literally like just fighting like men and like these defectoid creatures and things. And that's sort of meant to be sort of like a Conan sort of story, just like almost like her lamenting about times of battle. So like it'll be just kind of random things that random stories I tell about her. And then there's my favorite one right now is Batar the Barbarian, who actually becomes Bronan the hipster barbarian.
Oh my gosh!
So like he's like he like kind of transforms from barbarian to hipster like once he gets sent to the future by like a time wizard, and so like, he ends up like in all these like conversations and like breweries and shit about pop culture, and he always like ends up disagreeing with the people he's having the conversations with, and then he like reverts back to his barbarian ways and murders them.
Oh jeez.
So anyways, it's just like it's just like something fun. I always like ideas, and I want to figure out a way to tell more stories. So I'm just trying to do this anthology. So
Sure.
anyways,
Well, I started
thanks
reading
for-
your
thanks for
comic.
that, guys.
Your comic that's out now. I love how, like, at the beginning you have a whole page that's just little dedications to other comic characters, and you have people that are like that you usually see at cons that are there, kind of poking fun at that.
Yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite pages.
Yeah, it's
That
good.
just sold actually.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
So
Nice.
It's incredible.
pretty
Awesome.
cool. Yeah, pretty cool.
Cool.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Going on to the next question, Jason got into it a little bit, but it can even be comic characters, anime, TV shows. Like, what's some of your favorite out there that you just see and you're just at?
As far as like shows, or is that what you're saying?
It can be like comics. Like, what was one of the things? Like, I don't know. For example, like with Todd McFarlane's Venom. I remember when I was a kid, I seen that and I was just like, wow, that character looks incredible.
Awesome.
How it's designed, things like that. And then of course Dragon Ball Z. I seen those characters. I was like, Jesus, like the animation to this is like incredible. Like, what's some of those things like over your time that's caught your eye that's your favorite?
I mean, when I was growing up, it was Spider-Man for me. Like, I loved Spider-Man. For a time, it was Superman, and I loved He-Man. G.I. Joe is a huge influence on me. Nowadays, I would say, and we've talked about this a lot, like, I love the Invincible comic. So, like, that's I'd say the last, like, I don't know, 5 to 7 years, that comic book has been a really big influence on me and what I do. Preacher, dude, love Preacher.
Yeah.
That changed my whole way of looking at comic books. So, anyways, so that's definitely some of the characters, and then movies and there's a lot of movies. Like almost anything Spielberg, I'm a big fan of. Hitchcock, all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, I don't know if that answers your question.
No, that was great, Jason.
I don't know. I hate to say Akira again, but I'd definitely go with Time Bandits, Dark Crystal.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, a lot of Gilliam movies, like Fisher King was a big influence growing up too. That was a cool storytelling in that movie. I know it's cheesy as hell. I tried to show my wife, but I do like that Unico. It's a really cheesy old anime, but I saw it when I was at a babysitter's, and it was just so crazy because the bad guy wizard is so evil, and he was turning all the people into golem constructs and building his fortress with them, and you travel around with them. And it's just so insane, and seeing that as a kid. So I would have to say that's still a huge influence to me. Stuff like that, or or that after school special about that kid I was talking about before, about this kid that got this genie to give him wishes, and of course he wants all this money, but it turns out the money is actually just teleported from a bank somewhere. So there's a cost for every wish and stuff like that. That resonates.
I think I've seen that before.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but there's just stuff like that resonates forever. You just don't remember, even if you don't remember what it is. Tales from the Dark Side, Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Twilight Zone, yeah.
I'd have to say, the modern day Twilight Zone, some of the best stuff is, my wife and I were talking about with the Tim and Eric's bedtime stories, the Adult Swim, but that's a lot of them are really horror based. It's probably the most insane show I've ever seen. Tim and Eric it's acquired taste, I'm sure, but there's one episode of the first season that had Jason Schwartzman in it. It was about him, and it's just it's just insane. I'm not gonna have to say anything. You just go watch it yourself someday. But this is random stuff, from comedy to comics. I like comics, but I have a love-hate with that. I used to work at a comic shop and all that, and I used to have to read everything anyway. So we like to pride ourselves in knowing what we're talking about when customers came in there. But you don't get that in every shop you go to, unfortunately. But you go in there, and I just get into Marvel mostly. But they would always kind of do the American Horror Story thing, where the stories were great, but then they'd end stupid. So I'd have to say I don't know. I'd veer more towards Blade of the Immortals, probably my all-time favorite comic book, which is one dude from Japan, and it's already over, and it's a crazy, weird kind of ending to it, considering the whole volumes out there. But that's probably one of my all-time favorite comics. Not to rant randomly, but this is all over the place, stuff like that.
Awesome. Chloe, you get a question, or want me to go on the next one?
Yeah, how would you each personally describe your own artwork? In a few words.
My tagline's always is art sauce for your eye holes.
I knew you were gonna have something
say
like that.
It's acquired taste, I would say. Kind of like a beer. People are not gonna like a beer, so they.
That's a good thing, though.
Yeah, we can go on about, like, he talked about a showpiece about making fun of what cons look like, but yeah, it's like shows. You never know. Like, you could have your most favorite show, and then you just don't do well. And then you start, as an artist, you're like, oh, man. You doubt yourself. So I don't know what my art looks like to people, and one day to the next. You never know, but I would definitely say random as hell. Very random.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have like an awesome tagline like Jason or anything, but mine's. I always say that, like, I'm really influenced by, I don't know, a lot of things. So, like, movies, obviously, and pop culture and comics. But my work, the look of it is definitely inspired by, like, grunge music in the '90s and stuff.
Okay.
Like, indie. I think about, like, indie punk rock posters and things and stuff like that. I like things to kind of look gritty and weird. Like I said, I'm a fan of Kirby, even Ditko. Like, I feel like those guys, sometimes their work looked kind of weird, and I think that's cool.
Oh, so your work is basically tying flannel around your waist. And some rips in your jeans.
Not showering for a few days.
Yeah. And cardigans and shit.
Nice.
No, but I think, like, a good example would be, like, I think about, I'm a big fan of Nirvana, so, their Incesticide cover, if you guys know much about Nirvana, they have their second album was, like, a bunch of B tracks, and it's, like, kind of this green, like, baby shit green, if you will, like, color, and it's, like, really gritty looking. It was a painting by Kurt, and,
gross.
That one's wow, you know,
gross.
I'm just going with it, bro. But, so, that, and then, like, I always think about the Downward Spiral cover and Tool, like, stuff like that. Like, kind of the look of their stuff is kind of how I think about my work a little bit sometimes.
Okay.
So, the way they sound and the way they look and stuff, whatever.
Awesome. So,
again, man, you guys are, like, on the caffeine for staying up for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so, I'm sure there's been many great moments and everything to choose from, but I was going to get, what was your guys' favorite, you've been to many cons, what was your favorite con moment?
I'll start, is that cool, Jason?
Go ahead.
If I start? Actually, like, I feel like my favorite con moment, and again, I'm not just saying this because Jason was here, but, like, our first PopCon together was a really good moment for me.
Aww.
Yeah, because that was Jason. I feel like that was kind of the beginning of our friendship and stuff. So he's a good dude, and then also that was just a good show. That was one for me. I felt like it was a good show for me, and I felt like I could actually do that stuff. So it was pretty cool.
And Jason?
Yeah, I'd say, well, I haven't done any of those independent shows, but even though they're just about meet and greet, that's how I met Skillern, so that was pretty cool. I think, like, community-wise, like, people try to be communal. You can't, artist realm, a creative realm, it's not always possible with egos to be that communal, so everybody gets along, however, but, like, I think with that show, and then also we're always pretty much do most of the shows together anyway. Like, we're always next to each other, even at ITC, which you couldn't make this last one. You guys couldn't make it, I know, but we're always usually right pretty much next door neighbors at shows, so that's, then we do our artist special, things like that. So that's, I can't say locally, I don't even know what show. I do know we like the Indiana Comic Con a lot, other than the ITCE, and then when we do Indie Pop, we skipped it, and then we did this last one, so it was kind of like, it was good. It was a pretty good show. Like, it was a lot of fun, except for the flutes. But
I remember that.
Like it's just like I said. Like, you never know. Like, his buddy I met is like he's the one that got that Lady Loki custom order. Like, you just get.
Oh, that looked good.
Yeah, that.
So I don't even know if I could pick a favorite show like that. I hate to say, to go off of that. I think the only other big show I've done like that I was able to get into, and I can never get back into for some reason, was the New York Comic Con. I finally got to go to that, and that was just insane. Just because I think that's the only shows I've ever done where it doesn't even matter who you were. There's just people who just come up to your table. Like, that's what you want, people to like look at your stuff and give and care. It's like the amount of traffic. It's all about the percentages. Like, say you get 10 people in front of you, maybe 6 will like look at your table, or maybe 3. You never know. But if you up the amount of traffic, you get so much more people. So it was just getting a taste of that, a little bit more of that true big show insanity, because New York Comic Con is pretty much about as insane as San Diego is.
Yeah, well,
as far as like when I was there. So you've been there, right?
Well, a lot of people compare like the New York Comic Con. They call that like the minor leagues for San Diego Comic Con, because they say it's pretty bananas. It's like right up there with San Diego Comic Con. So I can definitely see what you're talking about.
Yeah, because Artist Alley, when I was there, Artist Alley was far away from like everything else. You had to like walk through this big hallway to get down to it, but it didn't matter. That didn't even. It was like fine.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not trying to like discount anybody's shows here or anything. It's just that was probably.
It's different.
That was pretty cool, but I don't really. As far as my plan now, I think the best shows yet to come, because I mean, it just shows you get better. And every show seems to get better.
Good.
With our little show, I get to do this poster for that, so which I'm working on another thing, not to say what it is, but for new art for the show for our surprise announcement for next year. So maybe you guys can make it next year.
Awesome.
You can tell us the surprise now if you want.
No, I can't. That's on Billy. It'll be soon. Don't worry.
Well, let's bleep it out of this. Come on.
So keep an eye out on Jason's page.
Whip this online, because pretty quick with them, man.
Cool. All right. I know I'm at the top of the list on this next question, but what was your worst Comic-Con moment? This should be fun.
Well, I don't think anything else needs to be said, James.
See, I know it right in the head. Boom.
No. Actually, to be honest, man, I'm pretty just go with the flow in general. But every now and then, like, I'm not gonna say what show it was, but and Jason probably knows this, but it was a show we did a while back. But there was this dude who was like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I have one of these faces where people just come and just tell me everything, but like. But, which is fine. I don't mind. I like legitimately don't care. But every now and then you get somebody, and it's just like, whoa, this needs to end, you know. But like this dude like was at my table for like it felt like an hour, and he was just like, and he was talking really loud. It was like kind of a smaller show, and like everybody, it was a long time. And anyways, at one point he said something that I found a little bit insulting, because he'd been standing at my table for a really long time, sort of. I mean, there weren't people coming by because he was there talking, and he was one of these guys where they probably didn't want to be around him, so he's kind of scaring people away. But he like said something, and I normally don't say anything, but I actually like had to respond back and just kind of say, hey dude, like, I didn't necessarily say this, but like that's kind of bullshit. Like, sort of made it a joke a little bit, but anyways, it was a. Sorry, I don't want to like.
What was it that he said? Can you repeat it?
This is unrated. You can say whatever.
What did he say? He was like, he went on and on and on, and he said something like that it was a one-sided conversation or something. And I was just like, and I just kind of said, well, that's because you've been talking for 20 minutes, dude. that's why it's one-sided, you know. And I just kind of was like, joking with him, but just like, you're not going to come here and like make like fucking snide comments like that when you've been sitting here like pitching me your comic. You pitched me like 3 comic books and told me every single part of the story for an hour. I mean, like, it was like a lot of shit. A pitch shouldn't last more than like probably 30 seconds or something. This dude told me the entire shit. So anyways, but that was probably the worst moment I could think of. Everything else, everybody's always really nice at shows. Super nice and supportive and whatever.
Yeah.
I want to hear Jason.
Yeah,
this one's gonna be good.
No, we didn't do shows yet, but I'll name names because they're never coming back anyway. It's the Awesome Con.
All right, let's get right into it.
Yeah, that was a rough show.
Awesome Con.
Well, yeah, because I started the show where I got there and I was on the end table, and some guy already took my table and the table next to it and just like planted himself. And he's one of those Walmarts where he's just a tower of prints. Doesn't have anything original of his own. He's just like, hey, Harley Quinn, Deadpool. Hey, look, it's Harley Pool, Dead Quinn. Hey, it's Harley Pool, Dead Quinn, Superman. You know, just a bunch of the same tired stuff, nothing original. And then he paid me. I think he ended up paying me for doing that, so I have to move everything. And then there was like so many no-shows, they just let me have this table at the end. So me and my buddy that I was sharing a table with was that Craig guy, Revenant Studios guy. We just had our own table all of a sudden. I didn't tell him I moved either. I waited till he got to the show. So that was probably fun. This part of the show is that I didn't tell him, and he showed up the next day, and I was just like, hey man, where you at? And then he was just like I was just watching him at this phone. I was like right at the end of the table, and he didn't see me. And then there's like, I don't know if that was a show, that was a Chucky staring at us for most of the show. That fell over by itself at one point. But yeah, that was not a really good show.
Oh my god.
It was
like, and I don't want to sound like ungrateful, but like shows, I hate when shows are good and bad depending on like monetary value, but it does suck when you do fork out the money for a show and then you don't at least get that back.
Yeah.
That would be frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's like, I hate to be like, oh yeah, a good show's a good show, but not, you know, it's kind of like, because there's like, and there's another thing that happens, I'm sure happens with anything that you do creatively or what you want people to care, but with anything, just like even with our show, we've been talking about it for years, and then every year you still get people that are like, oh, what? You have a show down there? And like, you've been talking about it forever. And then you tell people, and then I know you guys couldn't go, but there's people that'll like say they're going to show up and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like that kind of sucks too, because you've just like been talking about it all year, and then you get there and they're like, oh, I just stayed home or something. Damn you.
Yeah, cool. Chloe, you got a question?
Yeah, I got another one. If you could work on any like pre-established franchise, comic, animation, whatever, what would it be? What would be like your dream project to jump onto and help with?
Man, that's tough.
Maybe I should have gave you her questions before we did this.
No, it's okay. No, it's I don't know. Like off the top of my head, like I'm like really into you know, I like barbarian comics and things, and sword and sorcery type stuff. Mostly because I just like I like a lot of that artwork, like a lot of the stuff that especially like John Buscema was doing back in like the 70s. Anyways, like the black and white stuff I like, and that's I don't know, it'd be cool to have like a little story in Conan or something. That'd be cool, or like or like even like do like a Masters of the Universe comic book would be neat, or honestly like a G.I. Joe comic book would be really, really fun. Like the stuff that did you guys collect Transformers and G.I. Joe, the Tom Scioli comic?
I was G.I. Joe.
Yeah, Transformers versus G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Did you get that at all?
Yeah.
Okay, well, like that, like I love that comic book. I thought it was just fucking awesome, like just like batshit crazy shit. But just cool. Like I grew up on that stuff. That'd be cool to do. A Spider-Man book would be like the ultimate. Being a kid who loves Spider-Man. Yeah, I don't know. That's a couple. There's probably more. I mean, honestly, any book where I could, you know, like maybe there'd be more than 1,000 people to ever see it would be a cool thing to work on, you know. So,
Jason?
I think the number one thing that resonated me, you know, as a kid, that I would love to draw my own version or something like official from them, probably like a Crow comic.
Ooh, that'd be awesome.
That'd be something I'd like to do. 'Cause I still like the Crow just as much as, even though the comic's way more messed up than the movie is, but it's still like, it's a pretty good revenge movie.
Yeah.
That's probably number one. I don't know what else I would say. I do know there's a comic called Gray. It's it's a manga. I think they did an anime from the 80s, but it's all about how you have to fight in out in these just nomadic just wastelands against like other people and robots, and you have to do these things to gain citizenship, and then the better citizenship you gain, the better privilege and all that. And this comic's just crazy. I've always kind of wanted to redraw it for just no reason, just because I love it. Because you can't really sell it anyway. I don't know if even the person's even around anymore, but it's like Grey, and it was a cool comic. It's late 80s, I think around the same time as Akira.
That's all. Cool.
That's awesome.
But the concept's cool, and it's got crazy, weird robots in it. Not the typical ones you'd think.
Cool. All right. Of course, it's a movie podcast, and we always talk about movies and stuff when I come to see you guys at the cons. So right now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's obviously, you know, going into its Phase 4. Obviously, Avengers Infinity War just happened with Ant-Man and the Wasp, all that stuff, and we're going into Phase 4. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe overall, like, what have you guys thought of it? Like, you know, has it done justice for you as from the comics and stuff like that? And is it entertaining to you?
I dig it, Jason. Yeah.
I dig it, but I'm behind. I haven't even seen Infinity War.
Oh, you haven't seen Infinity War? Oh, you got to see that. It's awesome.
Hopefully, it hasn't been spoiled.
Yeah, I'll catch up, but I'm usually busy anyway. I'm just now catching up on, like you talking about Preacher. I've been catching up on season 3 of that show version, stuff like that. Not talking about shows, not movies, but shows are like big long movies now.
Oh yeah, we can definitely talk about that because I absolutely love Preacher. I finally got Chloe watching it, and I keep telling my friends I keep bragging. I will say it proudly that I think it's one of the best comic book TV shows on today. It's amazing.
I like the first season a lot. I just haven't gotten to see season 2 and season 3 yet. But I'll tell you what, I know that first season, like I said, I enjoyed it. The expectations were high for me too, because I love that comic book. That's one of my like gospel comics, you know. Like I go back to that a lot. I think Steve Dillon is a genius in that comic, and then of course Garth Ennis is great. But I did think that the first season did it justice, at least, you know. The changes they made sense, you know.
Yep.
But as far as like the cinematic universe for Marvel, what do I think about it? I think it's amazing, like that they've managed to somehow take the recipe of monthly comic books and translate it to film, because like they've created this soap opera monthly feel with like movies that are like out within about a year of each other now. So like they sort of leave the audience like, you know, on edge, like waiting to see what happens or what little piece of information they're going to get at the end of a film, you know, and that continues. It ties all these stories together. And I feel like I don't think people realize what a major undertaking that is, you know. To be able to take all of these stories and all of these characters and do almost like virtually what we've seen with Infinity War, it's an event comic book on screen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's never been done before. I think that's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are sort of, you know, just catching up to what everybody who is reading comic books has sort of known about, that a lot of the stories are a lot of fun and good, and there's a lot of cool, like, you know, hero stories that people love in these books. And now, like, we're seeing all this on screen, and it's really cool. It's a different incarnation of those other things we've been reading, but it's really successful. I actually prefer the movies to a lot of the stuff Marvel's been releasing in the comic books the last few years. Mm-hmm. So I feel like their comic books have kind of fallen off, but their cinematic universe is amazing.
Yeah,
they're losing a lot of their creatives anyway. You can tell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all they think too. It's like I know Jacob Fudge, my buddy down at the comic shop. They've talked about that over the years. Is they keep, instead of the comic books, they keep trying to relate it to the success of the actual movies instead of doing the creativity in the comic books. And it's changed the last year a lot better because like Nick Spencer and Ryan Otley doing the Spider-Man. I know the Tennessee's Captain America, that's really taken off. It's like, it seems like it's getting right back on the track here recently and everything else, but I definitely see what you're saying. They even talked about fixing on their podcast. They talked about fixing the comic book industry, and that was one of the things. It's like, do your own thing. Don't follow the movies. It's just like, be your own creativity.
Yeah, just make your own stories. I mean, like, I definitely feel like now, I mean, that's part of the thing with Marvel. Like, now, like, you have, like what do we have? We had, they had Countdown to Infinity War. Did they do something like that in the comic books? They had some sort of Infinity War title, or something that was like. So it's like now it's like all that stuff in Infinity War was really based on Infinity Gauntlet back in like what 90 or 91 or something.
Yeah.
And then they do all these other stories on top. Anyways, I feel like a lot of the stuff now, the material's being produced so that they can like put it into movies. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas like they have all this material. They've got like how old's Marvel? I mean, it's like Timely's been around since like the 30s or 40s. So I mean, there's a lot of history in that company. But I'm glad to hear that like that things are starting to turn around. Yeah. I mean, if you're saying like, you know, the title, because I just kind of, I mean, I like I said, the last book I was really collecting was Invincible, but I focus so much on my own stuff, it's hard for me to keep up sometimes, you know. So. Yeah,
but I said the same thing. It's like, you know, obviously, you know, personal life, everybody's got jobs and things like that. I usually wait for the graphic novel to come out, and I can just knock that bad boy out in one. But single issues are just so hard to keep up with.
Yeah, I mean, we're a binge society now too. Yeah. You know, it's just easier just to get it all and read it all and move on to the next thing now, you know.
Now, as far as comic books, I think they've kept a pretty good like of just staying like their own, not going too much to the movies, but going on to the movie side. So the struggle of the DC universe so far. I mean, what do you give me struggling is kind of putting it nicely right now, but you have like, what was it? We're up to like 5 or 6 films right now, and you've got 4 of the films are like completely on Rotten Tomatoes. That's rotten, and then you have the 2 other films are, one of them's barely fresh, and then you got one that's, you know, of course, Wonder Woman was their big success. So what do you think is going on with the formula over at DC that they can't, you know, do with Marvel, movie wise?
Seems like they're just rushing it to catch up to Marvel, and didn't pull the trigger right. Yep. I like Marvel better than DC, no matter what any given day as far as characters go. But Yeah, DC movies are
So there
I
you.
agree.
I do like Momoa though. I think the Aquaman seems kind of cool,
Yeah.
and I met Momoa, so
So
I give
did
him the benefit of
James.
the doubt because that you're a super nice dude.
Yeah, Jason's a fucking super cool guy. Like, gave my autograph for free too. That's how cool he is. He's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's you get it while you can, right?
Yeah.
Like later he'll be like up there with like the Shatner prices.
Yeah, that was around the time he was doing Conan the Barbarian and the Game of Thrones. So it was pretty cool.
that is cool.
So what do you think,
I was
Matt?
really surprised Conan didn't take off. You know what I mean? Like that was a cool film too. I like that version. Was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, as far as DC goes though, like Jason's right. I mean, like if they were smart, they would have just copied exactly what Marvel did. To be honest, like just build it up over time. You know what I mean? Just like we all know, that's the other thing. There's so many things that I could get into, but how many times have we seen Batman's origin?
No shit.
You know what I mean? Like we really don't need to see it anymore. Like at this point, they can just make. I mean, now they're finally making a standalone movie.
Yeah.
You know, and they will reference and mark my words, they will reference that origin in there.
Yeah.
At some point. Every single
Yeah, but
time.
I thought I saw like all the rumor mill buzzing about Affleck being out because he's in rehab and shit.
Well,
They're
yeah.
always having problems.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
I mean,
like.
they've been talking about like replacing him almost the entire time though too.
Yeah.
I mean, they were talking about the guy who was the guy who originally is it the same guy who's directing it as was before?
Yeah, you would have. He did Planet of the Apes. Was Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. Okay.
Just make it
I
Val
heard
Kilmer.
that you wanted to get rid of Affleck anyways. Like there's and you never know what's true with the media anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
The bullshit, but
Yeah, there's
I don't know.
the ones you take with a pinch of salt. He's wanting a younger Batman, so that's the reason why you don't use Affleck because he was an older,
Right.
experienced Batman. Some of them are saying that he wants to recast Affleck because especially what happened after Justice League and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
you got all that drama behind there, and he said something about Jake Gyllenhaal. What he wanted for his Batman, but Jake Gyllenhaal just signed over at Marvel to play Mysterio in the new Spider-Man movie.
That's such a good. That's the other thing with Marvel. They just lock down these great actors for stuff, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good guy to get in almost any role there. But
Yeah.
that's such a weird. You're talking about Donnie Darko playing Mysterio. It's cool, and both of those things end in O. That's even cooler.
Did you ever see Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
Nightcrawler's
Oh my
great.
god! Yeah,
Yeah,
it's awesome.
really, really good.
That's why when I heard he was,
Dude.
if he possibly could play Batman, I was like, just go watch Nightcrawler. I mean, you got a psychopath,
That's great.
basically a psycho dressed up as a bat running around beating the crap out of people.
Wait.
It's like, it would match.
What was that movie? But he did that other depressing ass movie with Hugh Jackman, The Missing Kids.
Oh,
What was
The
it called?
Prisoners.
I don't know that one.
The Prisoners. That's what it was called.
Yeah, it's out. He likes to do those depressing movies.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's Donnie Darko. He does dark things. You know,
Yeah.
everybody knows that.
I still wish they did the Old Man Logan, like the comic with Mysterio. That would have been amazing.
It would have been cool. That's for sure.
Now,
Yeah.
my next question for you guys, where it doesn't have to be a comic book character, it can be anything in general. But what's like a comic character or maybe a movie overall that you would like to see redone in the cinematic screen done better? Like if you guys want an example, like I don't know, for me personally, I would love to see a badass like rated R done right Mortal Kombat movie.
Man, that's a good call, dude. I'd actually say Street Fighter or something like that. If
Oh,
we're talking,
yeah.
like just to springboard that, because I thought the Street Fighter movie could have been a lot better
Oh
when I
yeah.
was younger. Like not, put Jean-Claude as a American in there. I don't know. I'm just saying, like Guile didn't seem like he was, from. I don't know. Where's Jean-Claude from? He's Parisian or
I think
something.
he's
I don't
Canadian.
know. Anyways, I'm trying to think of like another. I'm just gonna offend everybody. Oh, offend the French on this podcast. Sorry about that. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of I would have liked to
Joe.
seen.
G.I.
Yeah,
Joe.
fuck Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, G.I. Joe. Yes. That's all. Exactly. Jason's right. G.I. Joe.
You mean you didn't like Rise of Cobra with that mouth on Snake Eyes? You didn't like that?
Why'd you have to bring up the mouth, man? I forgot about that. That costume was cool except for the mouth.
Yeah, I was like, why does he have a mouth? Like, what is going on right now? So.
What the fuck, man?
But it's like, were you ever guys a big fan of, and I keep trying to get Chloe to watch it because she's never seen it, but did you ever see the original Robocop?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fucking love the Robocop. Did you hear that Neil Blomkamp is actually doing a sequel to that? The guy that did District 9?
Are you talking about you're talking about the original Robocop from the 80s?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Or actually the new Robocop movie wasn't as bad as it got.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty decent. It's just like I didn't like the jet black steel that they had on. I was like, let's get the iconic collars going. I'm like, come on, man.
I agree.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, but you're saying like the guy who did RoboCop is doing another? What's he doing?
The original writers from the RoboCop, they did a sequel script to that. They actually got scrapped back in the 80s, and it has resurfaced. And the District 9 Neil Blomkamp got a hold of it, and he's actually going to make it into the actual film that they use that script. So none of the other RoboCops besides the first one is canon, and they're going to do a sequel to the 80s. So.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I'm pretty excited about it. And he's trying to get Who's the actor's name that played the original RoboCop? Oh, it's driving me nuts.
It's Wells. It's something Wells.
Yeah, he's trying to get Harrison Wells. Is that it?
It's Harrison Wells. I think is from The Flash.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, that's right.
I thought it was Peter Weller.
Peter Weller.
It is Peter Weller. Yeah, you're right, Peter Well. See, I had the well. Come on, man.
Yeah, he even wants him back to play the RoboCop. I'm like, dude, I'm loving everything about this. Rated R. Fucking bring it on. I'm excited about it.
That's so cool.
But
yeah, because actually going back to Frank Miller I think wrote RoboCop 2 and 3.
Oh, did he?
Co-wrote it. Yeah, I think he co-wrote both of those, which makes a lot of sense. Actually.
But what about you, Jason? Is there any like comic characters or any characters overall, like a movie or something like that, you would like to be made that hasn't been made, or maybe redone better?
I think they should come back with Knight Rider again. No, I'm just kidding.
Get that David Hasselhoff.
That last comeback was so dumb.
You said it super serious too. That's what I liked about
it. I hate to beat the dead horse of Akira, but I always wanted to see like how they do like Attack on Titan and My Hero Academia, which is I've been hooked on that lately. But I work behind a little bit. I think one episode behind. It's like if they do Akira like that, because the manga is like way more expansive and explains everything. Like if you ever watch Akira, you'd just be like, I don't understand what just happened.
Yeah, they're making one this year though, aren't they? They're making like a live action one.
I hear different things, but I haven't seen anything solid yet. But I'm not. If they do any of the whitewashing with Akira,
they probably will. No, I mean, with how the track record's going.
Well, I was going to actually say that too. I mean, they would probably be very cautious about that because of the backlash that got Ghost in the Shell. So I imagine they probably would not pull the trigger on that again.
Yes, I saw the meme going around about Johansson playing the next black.
Yeah.
James Bond.
Like Harriet Tubman or something.
Like, she's Louise, man.
Yeah.
She's like the highest. She's like she could just dust off her shoulder. She's the highest paid actress right now. So whatever.
Did you guys see Lucy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, I thought that movie was cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I
just liked during it. Thought it was good.
I don't know of any other remakes. I know I've heard different things, but I've always wanted to see more of like Big Trouble in Little China, and I heard that they're doing the remake, like a sequel. Mm-hmm. It's not a reboot. Then I hear it is a reboot. I don't know, so I hope it's just a sequel because that'd be cool.
Yeah,
The Rock was gonna play him for a minute.
Yeah, it still is. Yeah,
because Kurt Russell's still alive. You can have him at least show up and be like passing a torch to somebody or something.
Thank you.
If they did a new thing.
Thank you.
That
That'd
whole
be
universe
amazing.
is cool. That's kind of Mortal Kombat in that movie. If you're looking for some Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
But they've got Old Man Jack, I think, with IDW, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
From, yeah, that's a comic, so you never know.
Yeah.
They may make it into a movie now.
And, Dwayne Johnson and Kurt Russell do have chemistry because, I don't like the franchise, but they have worked together on the Fast and the Furious movies before.
Yeah, that's true.
So that'd be pretty sweet if they get him to come back for the sequel. That'd be awesome.
That would be cool, actually.
Yeah,
and I mean, like, The Rock's got, he's got something. I mean, like, he does, most of his stuff's pretty good. I mean, he's got that big star action hero sort of charm,
Yeah. Well,
and that's,
Well, it's like one of his things too. I'm sure you guys have seen it by now, but have you seen the Shazam trailer?
I have seen it. Yeah.
And I found, when I heard that, The Rock was going to be playing Black Adam, I'm like, obviously, if you look at The Rock, the guy can play a superhero. I mean, the guy's built, he's all buff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
absolutely. After
I seen the Shazam trailer, I was like, man, he'd just be perfect for Black Adam because he would match that tone and all that stuff. And,
for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's on the horizon, but hopefully, Black Adam will finally come in as Shazam, and The Rock can actually play that, so we can see The Rock in an actual superhero role. So that'd be pretty sweet.
I hope so. That'd be awesome.
Yep.
And see, again, go back to DC, like, they're finally starting to get it. Like, that's part of the problem with them, is, like, their films have been far too earnest, far too serious, and that's because of, I feel like that's because of the Nolan Batman. That made, like, everything, like, had to be super intense, everything had to feel, like, super real, and then, like, Zack Snyder comes in, who's the guy who did Watchmen. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent. But,
go for it.
Okay.
But, I mean, like, Watchmen, like, was a decent translation on film. I mean,
it's one of my favorite comic films.
And he was the right director for that, but I just don't think him directing the Justice League or him doing Batman versus Superman was necessarily a great choice. I mean, even though, like, that was kind of based on, like, The Dark Knight Returns, yeah, I just, that's my big gripe. I just feel like they've gotten Superman wrong. And I feel like that's kind of if you're going to get somebody right in the DC universe, you got to get the guy right who started all that, So, and he's changed a lot.
I don't want to sound wrong, but I think the male spectrum of fans, boys that watched Watchmen probably liked it just because it had boobies in it.
That was.
So they probably gave it a pass. Like, yes.
That's you
my
just read my
favorite
mind.
movie ever.
Yeah, that's exactly why I liked it. So, good call.
Malin Ackerman, that was the actress, right? That was Silk Spectre.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was
the chick. Wasn't she the girl who was like? She was in a movie with Ben Stiller or something, where she played like a crazy chick that he married or something.
Yeah.
You remember that movie?
I only know her from Harold and Kumar because she was that dude with the boils all over his head. Freak Show, that's his name. Yeah, Freak Show.
Christopher Maloney?
Yeah.
That's funny.
And that was his wife. She was like all super hot, so I thought that was hilarious. And I found out she was going to be in The Watchmen. I just started cracking up, so it's good times.
She's like another chick that looks kind of like Keira Knightley and Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But
it's like a string of those girls for like a 5-year period that all kind of look the same.
That's she's the one that Paul Rudd was prepping himself for in Wanderlust. That's like one of the best Paul Rudd scenes ever, where he's talking to himself in the mirror, getting himself psyched up to try to like have extramarital relations, and it was just like that's like one of the best scenes ever.
You showed me that a couple weeks ago. I'd never seen that before. That is a really fun.
That's like the best part of that whole movie. It's a good movie though, but I mean Jordan Peele's and that Joe Truglio. Joe Truglio is like the best part of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. But he's from the State. I don't know if you guys remember the State. It's one of the best sketch comedies.
Absolutely.
Like all these sketch comedy guys from the State are now like Hollywood elite, like Thomas Lennon and stuff. It's just weird. Like these people talking about when they're in a college thing, talking about those sketches like and want to dip their balls and stuff or whatever. And now they're like Hollywood people like making money on like Reno 911. I know they're going to be. I heard they're going to be doing a movie. So I'm glad that's happening. Another movie. Reno 9/11.
Oh man,
I like that show.
So my final question on this, unless Chloe's got another one too. What was one of the movie genres, like movie genres overall, that you would like to see improved overall?
You want to go, Jason?
What do you mean, like new stuff coming out? What kind of?
Like I don't know. For example, like over the last 2 years, it's risen up, but there was a big long period of time where horror movies were really lacking. And I think over the last 2 years, like horror genre has really stepped it up. And I mean, you got films like Get Out, Hereditary. That's the only two I can think of right now off the top of my head, but I know there's more out there. But it seems like the horror genre is doing a good job of, making a big comeback. And we'll see if the horror slasher is going to make a big comeback with this, new Halloween coming out this October.
Well, actually, like, speaking of, like, letdowns and let-ups or whatever you'd say, I really like American Horror Stories. I think that's kind of injected fuel into the horror spectrum, what you can do with, like, actually having grade A actors, even if it's kind of some corny stuff that they do in the show. But they're another one of those shows that's like the Marvel problem, where it's like really great setup, but then terrible execution at the ending of it, where you're just kind of like, that's the end? Okay, well, let's see what next season's like. So, even though this new one sounds exciting, but yeah, I like horror, but I think movies that are everything, like even dark comedy, can be like, I think dark comedies are on the rise again too, because there's like so much stuff. I mean, watch Barry with Bill Hader as the hitman.
So good.
Yeah, see, there's just too much to watch, but like, there's like that dark comedy is always good. Although I don't know if there'd be a Barry without Grosse Pointe Blank, because that movie is amazing.
I was just gonna say that Grosse Pointe Blank is awesome.
Where's Cusack? Is he blacklisted?
I just read something about him the other day, and they were talking about that, like how I guess he's really involved in activism and things like that now. He's on like different boards and things, like trying to make the world a better place. How dare he?
Oh, he's
want to
busy.
see him on screen.
Well, some people get blacklisted or something, but I saw that now Brendan Fraser is doing more stuff, so it's cool.
Yeah.
He also did American Sweethearts. So, anyways, but we'll forgive him for that. Yeah, I mean, as far as like if we're talking genres of film that I think should either be improved or be brought back, I think the Western should be brought back.
Oh, you just took the word.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
That's solely because I love Westerns, man. I think they're great, and I know a lot of them maybe don't play well in the society that we live in today, but I think that's a reason why we need to bring them back. I think that we could do some interesting things, maybe correct some wrongs from the time that they were being made.
Yeah.
Make things less stereotypical, and obviously there were some problems in those older movies, but if you look at a movie like Unforgiven, I feel like that was sort of putting the Western genre to bed in a certain way. Like that was obviously a revisionist sort of Western. I think there was a lot that they sort of touched on in that they could continue to build off of. So I personally would like to see something like that. I think you got a lot of badass actors too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think what you're saying is in Hostels. I think they touch on all that in Hostels, but I haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, Christian Bale, he's excellent in that movie. It's on Netflix if you check it out. He's awesome.
I don't know how you get the time to watch everything.
Yeah, the one of the most recent westerns I could think of that they did really well was it's not really recent, but did you ever see 310 to Yuma?
Oh, 310 to Yuma?
Yeah.
That's a good one. That was a remake, but that was a really good remake.
Yeah, it was just like,
very good.
the success is there. You just have to get the formula right and stuff. So that's what that. And then, of course, one of my all-time favorite classic westerns is Tombstone with Kurt Russell, Sam Elliott.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, I think one of my favorite westerns, but it's really hard. It's a hard watch. Is the Proposition with Guy Pearce.
Is that Rambo that's in the screen right now?
There's a lot of good westerns out there, man.
Yeah,
like actually, I used.
It has to deal with all the, civilizing the lands and things, and the westernizing places. It's messed up.
The last one I saw that I really, really liked, well, maybe not the last one, but Open Range is really good.
Oh yeah.
That's like got kind of a classic feel. And then the one that I really, sexy. I like that. How you doing?
If we're the audio podcast, we got a cool face on Jason's screen.
Yeah, I like that. The thing that I definitely I can't even concentrate because you're looking at me. Oh, man. I like that guy though. I like that guy.
Hey, there is a new Rambo coming out.
Yep, Rainbow.
I know it's like Rambo 13 or something. Rambo 6. I don't know. Stallone's 79 now or something.
That dude's like fine wine. He gets better with age.
Dude, I'm not gonna hate on the dude because he's ridiculous, and I know he's taking a lot of like chemicals to maintain that.
Yeah,
it's still pretty impressive. But no, what I was gonna say though, for westerns, did you see the one? I think it's called like it's Bone something.
Oh, Bone.
Kurt Russell's in it.
Are you talking about Bone Tomahawk?
Is that what it is?
Bone Tomahawk. Is it Kurt Russell's in it?
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Dude, that movie is.
That's a western like horror type thing.
It is brutal. That movie is brutal.
It is.
Still haven't seen it.
Dude, when the Indians, I don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't seen it, but when the Indians, some of the crap they do in that movie, I'm just like, I can't watch this.
Yeah.
I can't. That's probably some of the most horrifying scenes I've seen. I'm just like
terrible.
I know it was hyped, but I did like the Revenant a lot.
Oh, the Revenant, yeah.
I still haven't seen the Revenant, man. I gotta see that.
Okay, well, if you ever see the meme where it says Leo got fucked by a bear, you're just like, that's funny. That's funny. And then you see it, and you're just like, oh dear. Stop it. Stop it, bear. Stop doing that.
Damn it. I can't wait to see it.
It's pretty disturbing. You're like, oh, no bear. No.
That just automatically went to number 1 on Matt's viewing list.
I know it was hit and miss, but Westworld Season 2 was decent.
Yeah.
Oh, Ed Brubaker did a lot of that, who wrote Captain America. I mean, he's written a lot of stuff, but his most popular was the Captain America arc with Winter Soldier.
Yep.
He's a great writer.
Yeah, he killed Captain America.
Yeah.
I'm a big Zon fan, so he's cool enough to even respond to me. I showed him that Akacheta piece, but he's one of my favorite characters of the second season.
Nice.
Yeah, Jason, when I posted your Deadpool and Invincible canvas you did for me, you got a little shout out by Ryan Otley.
Really?
Dude,
yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Where was that at?
On Twitter. I posted on Twitter, and he was like, that's awesome. So, you got a shout out by Ryan Otley, man.
It's badass, man.
Yeah,
he's the dream.
We talked about this, how when I worked at Atomic, I knew Corey personally, and then you see Otley take over his book, and it's just like I had no idea about what's going on, why people changing hands on books, because that's another thing I don't like about big companies. They change creative things, and I just remember it's like, who's this new guy? And then he just totally got expanded. Like,
yeah. Well, it's like I think
that's kind of like. So I'm sorry to not trying to hate on anybody out there, but there's a lot of artists that get their peak and then they just don't keep going, and then some people just keep going, and you're like, what the hell? Like they just keep evolving.
Yeah.
Some people just stay. It's almost like they become a stencil of their art, and they just keep putting out like the same kind of stuff, which is cool. Which is really cool.
Hate on me, bro?
No, I'm just talking about people that evolve.
Why are you trying to hate on me, bro?
You can just see Otley evolve with Invincible. So if you watch it, you're like, oh, look at this first part, and then you're like, oh, Shazam.
Well, didn't Chris go on to do The Walking Dead? Didn't he focus more on The Walking Dead?
Who is it?
That Chris Moore, didn't he to go on more to The Walking Dead?
Tony Moore?
Or is it Tony Moore? It's one or the other.
Yeah. Tony Moore did like the first 6 issues of Walking Dead, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then And I think actually you're talking about Corey Walker. I think I remember. I don't know if I read this or I was talking to somebody about it one time. I think he just like didn't like the demand of a monthly book, and that's why he left Invincible.
Oh, really?
I think he still had a lot to do with like the creative process of it for a long time. And then he did a couple like little mini series. Like he did the one with Nolan and Alan as the space cops. He did like a side story with them.
Yeah, well,
that was Corey Walker.
Yeah, that makes more sense because, dude, Ryan Otley's a freaking animal, man. Because the Nick Spencer and Ryan Otley Spider-Man that's out now, that thing's bi-weekly.
It's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, and you see it too because you're just having a good time with it. The detail he puts in that stuff is it's amazing. It's
his dream. I mean, I think he was a guy who grew up on McFarlane too.
Yep.
He's probably right around my age and Jason's age.
Yep.
So I mean, he's got to be loving that because McFarlane Spider-Man was like, that was it back in the '90s, man.
Yeah.
That was put Spider-Man back on the map. That's for sure.
Now, so my final question to close this bad boy out: is there any comic series out there right now that you would love to see they continue off of? Maybe it ended, something like that. I don't know, like for example, we've talked about it a million times. We would love to see. Of course, it just ended this year, and it's heartbreaking, but we would love to see, like, a spin-off story to the Invincible, world and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But is there anything that,
They started that with Guardian the Globe. Remember they did Guardian the Globe for a while? They were trying to do, like, spin-off characters. Do you remember that?
They could probably surprise you with something coming up later, depending on how they ended it. You never know.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll come back to it later.
Yeah, that's the thing about... Robert Kirkman. I mean, I think he's always kind of got a plan. It seems like so. He likes that character. I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but and I probably shouldn't even ask for this, but I'd love to see Jesse Custer in some incarnation again.
Oh yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters of all time. I just like to see what happened to he and Tulip when they rode off into the sunset. Like what did they get into after that? It'd just be cool. I mean, what do you do after you go up against God, though?
And for people listening to the podcast, Jesse Custer and Tulip are from the Preacher comic series. One of the best couples. Yeah. Step aside, Mary Jane and Peter Parker, but awesome. But
definitely, yeah.
Jason,
they're right up there.
Jason, which one of your things do you hope they continue off of, or maybe something you would like to see?
If I had to pick a comic, I'd probably be, I don't know, maybe Wildcats. I know, like, those are that Morrison Jim Lee thing. It never happened. But I always like Wildcats. Especially when Travis Charest took over, and his art is like, Travis Charest is up there with, like, Joe Mad art, where everybody and their mom wants to be him so bad, so they try to emulate hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
Hardcore. So they try to emulate. So yeah, Wildcats. I always like the Wildcats universe. I think it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
The teeth on that Jason he actually created that, but the teeth on that are actually based on my teeth, which a lot of people don't know.
Ooh.
No, this is actually Thomas. He based this. I drew his helmet project. The Star Wars helmet project for charity. There's a biker helmet mixed with the mouth of Endor, and I did a painting of it. And then he did a scale model of my painting.
If you say so, dude, but we all know the real truth.
No, he's part of the 501st. Just doing the 501st shout out, but like, yeah, he's
don't
claim
gangs on
Lord of the Rings. I'm not to go answer questions that you're not asking, but yeah, I'm excited about Lord of the Rings TV show. So
Oh, over at Amazon.
Yeah,
I'm excited. Well, Amazon's evil and all, but
hey, that's where the Invincible animated series is going to be too.
Yeah, I know. I'm just talking about the warehouse part of it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
People that work in warehouses.
They're doing a live action too, right?
Yep, it's going to be done by.
They're doing a movie.
Yep, Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, who doing Preacher.
Yeah. The same.
It's going to be bananas.
I didn't know that's going to be animated on Amazon?
Yep, it's going to be an animated series and a live action. Good time to be alive.
This is great, man.
Yep. So that's why we gotta grab all our invincible stuff before it blows up on the scene.
What are you doing?
But Chloe, do you got any more questions?
Jason?
I went through all of my questions.
Awesome. Well, I said at the beginning of the podcast, and I'll say it again, dude, thank you so much, guys, for sitting down and taking this time to do the interview and stuff. I had a blast. I know we've been chopping at the bit trying to do this, and we finally got it knocked out. Thank you so much, guys.
Everyone check out their pages, their Instagrams and Facebooks, and do you have any other pages besides Instagram that you update on?
I was gonna go to each of you. Let everybody know it's like where can they find you at, and I'll definitely be putting it down in the subscription below. So Matt, hit them with where you're gonna find you at.
You can find me at Skillful Studios, and that's on Facebook or Instagram.
All right, awesome, and those will be in the subscription below. And Jason, where can they find you?
Just look under mayonnaise and bread.
Mayonnaise and bread.
Instagram, Facebook. It's all spelled out. I'm sure most people know how to spell mayonnaise. It's a great word. And
if not, they have autocorrect.
Often it goes with bread. And you can go by mayo and bread on the Twitters. I don't have a URL per se at the time, but who needs them? You just got socials.
Awesome.
Just like this chat right now. Hopefully the audio sounds tip-top through Facebook chat.
Yep, awesome. And guys, is there any Comic-Cons or any cons coming up recently that you guys are going to go to?
I think the next thing I don't know. No, I think Jason and I may be at like Kokomo or something. We were talking about that, weren't we?
There's still time.
Maybe keep an eye on Kokomo Comic-Con.
Bro?
Kokomomo?
Kokomomo?
Kokomomo. They should call it Kokomomo Con. Sounds cool.
I was thinking about doing Fantastic Con, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I feel like I've got too much happening right now, so.
Awesome. So just definitely keep an eye out on their website and stuff. Definitely check them out.
Take it on down to the Kokomo Con. Take it fast and then it'll take it slow.
For sure.
That's where you want to go.
Ooh, sexy.
Time to that Kokomo Con.
Awesome.
Oh my
well,
God.
guys, thank you again so much for being on here.
PG-13 anymore.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I will apologize, and I apologize profusely in advance of how many thumbs down you're going to get for this video.
No, dude, thanks for having us. I appreciate both of you. You guys are doing a great job, and I love your show, so thanks for having us.
Spider-Gwen.
Right on. I love my Spider-Gwen. She's the last thing I see before I go to bed and the first thing I see when I wake up in the morning. So thank you.
Yeah, everybody stares at their paintings they got, so that's good. I think he stares at Skillern, even stares at his.
Nice.
He smacks it.
Nice. Oh, dude, I totally do.
Your red skull and cap. It's like, he puts his fingers on them and tells them to shush.
But awesome. Alright, well, thank you guys so much again. And guys, like always, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, like, and if you're not a subscriber to the James Eversole Jr. Movie Podcast, hit that big old subscribe button. Almost there. Thank you again to Matt Skillern and Jason Phillips, and thank you to Chloe for being on the podcast today. It was awesome, guys. I appreciate it again. Like always, take care of yourself, take care of each other. We are out of here.